Well, now it's time for The World Has Gone Mad. And there's nothing crazier and more insane than the current kooky craze for decolonisation. Have a listen to this teacher from Nottingham Girls' School explaining how she is busily decolonising the British curriculum.
We have to fully incorporate the work and ideas of people of colour into each aspect of the curriculum. By rethinking the very foundations of our education system, we've replaced controversial books by white male authors, such as Of Mice and Men and The Boy in the Striped Pyjamas, with pieces of literature that celebrate a diverse array of authors and themes. The whole point of decolonising the curriculum is to make the outlooks and experiences we study more universal. And naturally, these change with time.
Of course, it's only a coincidence that one of the controversial books by white male authors she has so eagerly got rid of is all about anti-Semitism and the son of a Nazi officer befriending a Jewish boy during the Holocaust. Yes, let's decolonise that one, shall we? Or how about this nutjob keen to decolonise our language?
Non-white people and ethnic minorities. If you're tired of using this language that continues to center white folks, there is better language. She introduces us to the language people of the global majority. Oh, is accurate, right? And she names the way in which this term disrupts white supremacy, culture, and ideology.
People of the global majority. But those wealthy and worthy ladies may actually be too late. Whites have already been dumped from the culture. I was amused by this meme. Rest in peace, white couples in TV ads, 1950 to 2021. And it's true. When's the last time you saw two whites as a couple, rather than an interracial couple, let alone a whole white family, in a TV commercial? I was amused by this compilation someone put together of all the major brands busily making sure all the couples are multiracial. But it's not new. In fact, I remember back in the noughties when I was last involved in the advertising industry, it was already common for clients to prefer to cast multiracial couples. Now, obviously, TV advertising needs to genuinely reflect the society in which we live, and so it should. But the erasure of the white straight male from the public square has got completely out of hand. In April, for example, a British theatre director called for a year-long ban on all plays written by white men. So, you know, bye-bye Shakespeare, bye-bye Oscar Wilde, bye-bye Tom Stoppard. And a recent article by Jacob Savage in Compact claims that, quote, not a single white American man born after 1984 has published a work of literary fiction in The New Yorker, not a single one. So it looks like the decolonising of our culture is already having its effect. And it's hardly surprising when you listen to self-loathing lunatics like this guy.
Not be racist to white people because white people are the dominant race in this country. Full stop.
You are calling me privileged when you don't know anything about me. I could have grown up in Section 8 housing.
This is privilege! Okay.
Sadly, this hatred of British culture or white culture or Anglo culture this week saw the disgraceful situation where a 12-year-old British girl was humiliated at school after wearing a sparkly Union Jack dress to her school's Culture Day. A Union Jack dress, just like pop stars like the Spice Girls used to wear, to celebrate British culture, and then being told it was inappropriate and she was forced to sit in reception all day and not give the speech she'd prepared.
My speech was about diversity and all our traditions that we have in Britain, our politeness, our humour.
What a disgrace. The school has since apologised, but this is where decolonisation will always end, erasing your own culture. Here's another young British woman calling for an end to illegal immigration.
You seriously must be on the upper echelons of naivety if you think these 5 teenage men crossing the channel are here to adapt and assimilate into our way of British life. We have seen quite the opposite. I shouldn't be stood here today. There shouldn't be a women's safety initiative, but because of consecutive government failure, time and time again, Our women and our girls are put last, and we simply will not stand for this anymore.
Which may explain this hilarious AI meme, satirical one, my meme of the week. But still, the decolonise insanity that has gripped the UK now extends to decolonising fishing. According to the UK Telegraph, Britain's North Sea fishermen are set to be decolonised. The Telegraph claims the Grimsby Fishing Heritage Centre has a museum and it's dedicated to Grimsby's fishing heritage, but it's now seeking to address the possible links between this heritage and colonialism and racism. Objects relating to the work of trawlermen will be assessed, along with other material, to gauge whether they might be problematic. Connections to slavery will be highlighted, and the Grimsby Fishing Heritage Centre will also seek to include more information relating to those from diverse backgrounds and protected characteristic groups. But, as Andrea Jenkins, the Reform Mayor for Greater Lincolnshire, said, quote, "This is exactly the kind of woke nonsense that we, Reform, are committed to ending. British fishermen have already been dealt a tough hand and betrayed by one incompetent government after another." Quote, "The people who built this country, our builders, fishermen, military personnel, teachers and doctors, deserve the highest respect. The growing sense of guilt and lack of patriotism plaguing Great Britain must be reversed." Hear, hear. The decolonising and acts of historical vandalism also extends, of course, to the arts world, where these idiotic pro-Palestinian activists last year slashed and defaced a 1914 portrait of Lord Balfour at Cambridge's Trinity College. Surely, you might ask, they were punished with the full weight of the British legal system. Sadly, no. It seems like that has been decolonised too, if not defanged altogether. In March, the police closed its investigation. The vandals got away with it scot-free. Personally, if it had been down to me, I would have found a suitable non-colonial punishment for them, such as this. I've always said you can judge the legitimacy of a political cause by the quality of the music it inspires, which is why those same pro-Palestinians appear to have a natural affiliation with the lowest and most tedious form of music known to mankind, rap music, as they use its moronic, monotonous tones to preach their hatreds, in this instance calling for brands with connections to Israel to be boycotted.
You stood in the way of whites men aided with the Arthur Balfour Declaration, working with Rothschild, another Freemason. America joined up, approved the migration. Palestinian.
Oh, wow. Cool, man. Yeah. Now have a listen to the sublime music and comedy of these two Jewish men, Adam and Eyal, confronting the same vile hatred with humour, talent and beautiful harmonies.
It's a bit scary to be a Jew today. When I go to Starbucks, they ask for my name. My name is very Jewish, so I don't know what to say. So I say a different name that makes me feel more safe. Muhammad? Yeah, I'm Muhammad.
Brilliant. When I think of all those talented Jewish singer-songwriters, I think of Leonard Cohen, Simon and Garfunkel, Bob Dylan, Billy Joel, Amy Winehouse, Lou Reed, Neil Diamond, Mark Knopfler, Mark Bolan, and our own Deborah Conway, among many, many others. Then I think of all those talented pro-Palestinian singer-songwriters like Kneecap and Bob Vylan and I. Anyway, let's move along, shall we? I rest my case. Meanwhile, two New York lesbians came in for a shock this week when they tried to buy a book for a baby.
Okay, we're gay, but we're in Barnes & Nobles, and there's a kids book section, a gay kids book section, and this is crazy. Look at this. Okay, there's the gay VCs, right? Bye-bye binary. Bye-bye binary with a mohawk on a baby.
And bravo to all those gays and lesbians who stand up to this nonsense. But where did all the overtly political LGBTQ+++ ideology aimed at young people in particular actually stem from? From the gay community itself? From the school kids? From the marginalised and oppressed? Nope, it came from the World Economic Forum, according to the World Economic Forum.
Today, I'm really proud to sit on WEF's Power of Media Task Force, and GLAAD is a very proud partner of the Partnership for Global LGBTQI Equality, which is also known as PGLE. And PGLE was launched right here in 2019 and is a project of WEF and the UN Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights. So it's LGBTQ, and we expand the age from 18 to 34, and you can see nearly 40% of Gen Zers identify as LGBTQ.
Have you got that? The political grooming of Gen Z into the ideology of LGBT and Q was a United Nations and World Economic Forum activist program, and they are proud of it. Of course, there's nothing sinister whatsoever about the World Economic Forum or any of their ideas, is there?
Seeing that person commit the crime, even though that person's utterly innocent, that it becomes a planted memory. And so there's some really interesting research that we can plant false memories in the brain. And in a different context, one of the emerging areas that's really interesting in law neuroscience is pain detection. And once we understand the circuitries that cause pain, I guess the question is, could we then instill pain and use that in many coercive measures in the legal system as well? So.
Wow, that's amazing.
Coercive pain, anybody? Sounds like fun. Well, how about this? The World Economic Forum would like to see a new crime called Ecoside. Under Ecoside, farming and fishing and fossil fuel businesses could be committing a crime equivalent to murder or genocide. That sounds perfectly reasonable and not completely bonkers at all.
And that, I mean, you know, if you're campaigning for human rights, at least you know mass murder, torture, all of these things are serious crimes. But there's no equivalent in the environmental space. And so, you know, unlike an international crime like genocide that involves a specific intent, with Ecoside, what we see is actually what people are trying to do, what businesses are trying to do, is make money, is farm, is fish, is do all of these things that are producing energy and so on.
Still, if you think she's kooky, here's my totally demented Trump derangement syndrome nutjob of the week. If you voted for Trump, don't wind up in this woman's ER.
I just thought of a way to combine my MAGA hating and my work in the ER. MAGA supporters are like people who hold on to fireworks too long. You love it until it hurts you.
It was a year ago this week, of course, that thanks to the hand of God, Donald Trump avoided being assassinated. We were on air on Outsiders as it happened, and I immediately called it an assassination attempt. But most of the US media did not. Even as he came within millimetres of death, the mainstream media couldn't hide their Trump derangement syndrome and ran disgusting headlines like this: Secret Service rushes Trump off stage after he falls at a rally. Or this: Trump whisked off stage after loud noises rang through the crowd. Speaking of mishaps on stage, you do have to feel sorry, kind of, for this married CEO who was snuggling up with his HR manager under cover of a huge crowd in the pitch darkness of a Coldplay concert when the spotlight and the camera found them and projected their canoodling up on the screen for the whole world to see.
Oh, look at these two. All right, come on. You're okay? Oh, what? Either they're having an affair or they're just very shy.
Yes, an illicit office romance. What would HR say? Oh, hang on, she is HR. Yes, it truly is a world gone mad.